Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Satisfactory Update 5. And on this episode, we are needing to complete Phase 3 of the space elevator upgrades. We're going to be working at building the versatile framework, which we already do have manufactured. We'll be pulling those up, as well as modular engines, which is a new system that we're going to be manufacturing, and then also the adaptive control unit. So sit back, relax, and let's jump into it. All right, the first thing that we're going to be working on is diving into our modular engines. And what's required to be able to make the modular engine is to make one modular engine, it requires 2 motors, 15 rubber, and 2 smart plates. Now, our only downside is right now with our redefine of our little refineries here is I kind of don't have any rubber manufacturing happening anymore because we needed this amount to be able to handle the plastic needed for our circuit boards and our computer manufacturing. The only rubber I have is just what I have stockpiled right here. So it might be time now to actually step up and build our refineries in a little bit more sustainable situation and be able to provide more oil for it so that we can take care of all of our plastic and rubber needs, as well as I could see in our near future more power generation with fuel generators. So that's going to be our first step in here, is making sure that we can provide our base with the enough plastic that we need and the amount of rubber that we need, as well as trying to deal with our waste from the plastic line. And while we're at it, let's increase our power usage, or our power capabilities. All right, so with stepping up our oil production and stuff, I'm actually out here where our first little oil extractor is set up. And if we if we just run out here into the open, and we click V and select crude oil and do a quick scan, of course we have this one here, and then there's like a couple of nodes that way, and then there's like further ones off into the distance that way. So I'm going to find a central location here, and I think this little island right here is the perfect place. I'm going to have all of my oil brought in out to here, and we're going to turn this into one great big huge oil manufacturing facility out here. And actually, as you can see, there's another oil. This one here is this is a pure coal or pure crude oil node. There's a normal one over there. I think there's another normal one on that island. And we could build out on this water that's right here. Everything's all wide open. And we could build a massive refinery out here for oil production, for plastic production, for rubber production, and even getting into our fuel generation and stuff. So that's what I'm going to work on, is getting a platform set up out here and then get the oil all brought in to where we can start working with it. Okay, I've built myself a platform out here that we are going to be working with to build our new refinery and fuel generation. All that type of stuff is all going to be out here. Our plastic's going to get made out here. Our rubber is all going to get made out here. And then we'll conveyor that stuff back as we need it type thing. But we have got a 120, so a normal oil node over there that we're pulling from. We have a pure node here that we're pulling from, and then there's our original pure node that's just over there that we're pulling from. All of that oil is coming back here, so we have 240 coming in that line, 240 cubic meters coming in this line, and 120 cubic meters coming in on this line, which is giving us 600 cubic meters out on our Mark II pipeline here. So we have 600 cubic meters of oil that we can now work with on building our refineries here. So now it's just a matter of getting all of our production actually put in place here now and move forward from there. Okay, so we are gathering up. We've got our 3 nodes of oil that we're pulling from. We have one that's like right here. We have one that's over there. Both these ones are pure. That one over there is normal. When combined together, it equals 600 cubic meters of oil that we have coming ready to be produced. So then, because we needed to get our rubber manufacturing back up and running again, and then I wanted to kind of combined all of my refinery in one place now. I've moved the plastic refinery that we had back at the base, and I've moved it out to these nodes over here. And so we've kind of done a thing here. So we've got all of this oil coming in to one pipeline here, which is a Mark II pipeline that's running 600 cubic meters. 600 cubic meters of oil is flowing down through here, and it's loading up into all 20 of these refineries. 10 of these are making plastic, and the other 10 are making rubber. Of course, with that, we have all of those finished goods are getting loaded out on conveyors, and they are all shipping on back to our base that way. And we're just using Mark III conveyors because the most this could produce is 200 rubber and 200 plastic per minute is what we're basically cranking out of this little assembly that's here. Now, we're taking all of the heavy oil residue from these. So the plastic refineries, they produce 10 heavy oil residue per minute, and the rubber produces 20. So that gives us a total of 300 heavy oil residue that I have then pumped up and into these 5. Once I jump back up here again, I slid down into these 5 refineries here. So these 5 refineries each take 60 heavy oil residue, and that gets converted into 40 fuel. So we're getting a total of 200 fuel per minute, all coming down into this pipe here, and it's feeding along and feeding into these 8 fuel generators, of which, it's noisy, bear with the sound, they've been overclocked. Now let's move away from these because they're crazy loud. Each one of these generators is using about 25 cubic meters of fuel. It's like 24.8 something when you've got them overclocked. Which, I mean, that's okay because we got to account for fluid flow. These, optimally, the 3 nodes of oil that we've got should be able to produce enough oil to be able to do all of this, but it fluctuates. Sometimes it'll be a little bit more than 600, sometimes it'll be a little bit less, sometimes it'll be a little bit, but generally it's a law of averages balances out, which means that this isn't quite consuming 200 cubic meters of fuel, but it is so close to 200 cubic meters of fuel that it's very rarely that we're going to see any dips and drops in it. Now, I did just turn all this system on, so it is taking a while for it to charge. So you can see here when a generator kind of drops down a bit and then comes back up again. And that's mainly just because the whole system is starting to, it's having to charge all up to be able to get everything running. So basically, to recap what we've done here for our refineries is we've got a lot of oil coming in. We're getting all of our plastic and rubber getting manufactured. Then the waste that's coming out of there, which is the heavy oil residue, is then getting processed by these back into fuel that's then running these generators, which is producing more power for us. Now, let's go have a look back at our base. Okay, now that we're back at the base, these top 2 conveyors, they're Mark III conveyors, are what's delivering our plastic and rubber up top. And then we have them feeding into some elevators that are shooting up to the top there. But one thing that we need to make sure with these, since we're going to be using this as power generation now with the fuel generators, is we need to make sure that those the plastic and rubber never shut down manufacturing. So right now, of course, all the heavy oil residue is getting consumed that it can make. But we need to make sure that the plastic and rubber, see, our rubber is already full here. Plastic is kind of getting there. It's consuming a little bit because we have some computers getting manufactured at the moment. But basically, I'm taking a line out of here, and we've got it split off of this. Half of it's going into storage, and then half of it is coming over and it's feeding into this awesome sink. Now, once everything's like completely backed up here, and these are completely full, like the rubber's already doing, all of the rubber will come this way and dump into the awesome sink, keeping those 10 refineries continually running. And then our plastic, once the storage container gets filled with the plastic, then that will make sure that these stay running, because it's all coming into this awesome sink to be able to get converted into tickets for us. So that ensures that we will always have the fuel that we need to be able to generate our new power. And of course, we've got our supply now of plastic, which we needed for the computer stuff, and then rubber that we're going to be needing for some of the things that we have to manufacture to be able to complete phase 3 of the elevator. So now it's back to actually trying to figure out, okay, what we've got to do to be able to build the components for phase 3. And the first one we need to look at is modular engines. Well, we have everything for this now. That is motors, rubber, and smart plating. So we just need to combine those to be able to get our modular engine. So let's get that built. Okay, so we've laid down a manufacturer here. We're pulling a conveyor of rubber up into here, as well as we're pulling a conveyor of smart plating, as well as some motors coming in. And those are all combining to be able to craft one modular engine. This is crazy slow. It's one item per minute that comes out of this. So, and we need 500 of them to unlock. So it's going to take a while. I suppose I could like put a bunch of these up here, but I could also just let it run overnight, because this is getting 100% of its materials in here. And I mean, I even have one of these little boosts. I could just throw this in just to give it 150%, so it makes like 1.5 of them. So every 2 minutes we should get 3 out of here. So it'll be a little bit faster than what it was. So now the next thing we've got to look at to make sure we've got manufacturing is our adaptive control unit. Now, what all does it need? It needs circuit boards, it needs computers, it needs heavy modular frames, it needs also, I think that's that the smart cabling, or I can't remember the name of it, but there's a different type of cabling. It's right down here. Let me figure out. Weave our way through. It is this stuff right here, which is automated wiring. So we've got to pull feeds from like 4 different spots to be able to make that next component. And as you can see, we are getting like a massive spaghetti of conveyors and stuff around here. I guess that's progress for you, is having this rat's nest on your first playthrough through the game. I guess that's all you can expect, right? Is to have a great big huge rat's nest of various things that we have to deal with. So I'm going to get another manufacturer put down here and see about how we can get some of these materials up here to be able to get this manufactured. Alright, that was a bit of a spaghetti nightmare to get everything up here. We have our circuit boards coming down. I'm just pulling it off. I put a splitter in line from these first 2 so that we'll send some of the circuit boards up this way. Would then fly into this machine. It only requires 5 circuit boards per minute, so it's not like we're going to be using a huge pile of it. And then we came with the computers and the heavy modular frames. They're loading up and they come up on this side. 2 conveyors whipping down this way. Heavy modular frames go into the first port. And let me just climb back up here. And the computers are going into the second port. And then automated wiring, I have it punching up through the floor over there. And then it feeds right in directly into here. So this is now manufacturing our 2 adaptive control units per minute right now. So now it's just a matter of waiting. See, we only need 100 of these to be made for us to be able to turn in. So we're definitely going to be waiting on modular motor or modular engine or whatever it is. Let me see. It's the modular engine. We're going to be waiting on that component for everything. So it's a waiting game right now. We'll gather those up, and then we'll be able to finally dump everything into the space elevator to unlock Tier 7 and Tier 8 manufacturing. So bear with while we wait for these materials to come through. Alright, so we left things running overnight so that it would be able to produce our items for us. And we got enough of the modular engine components as well as the adaptive control units. So now we just have to load these into our space elevator for upgrade. Just a few clicks. And boom, everything is all 100%. We can pull down the load. Once the load has been done, we can pull down send. And that shipment of items has been sent off to Fixit Corp, somewhere off into space. They just take all of our hard work. But now that unlocks Tiers 7 and Tier 8 for us. So let's have a look at what we can expect coming up in future episodes with Tier 7 and Tier 8. We got Bauxite Refinement. We end up with Logistics Mark V, which gets our Mark V conveyors and Mark V elevators. We got hazmat suits, so that's when we're going to be dealing with some nuclear technology. Aeronautical engineering, that's going to get us into drones. The hover pack, which is going to be super nice for us to be able to just kind of cruise around, to be able to do some building. That's going to be super nice to have for sure. That's what we got coming up in Tier 7. And then in Tier 8, we got nuclear power, advanced aluminum production, leading edge productions. Oh, that gets our Mark III miner, which on a normal mode ends up being 240 resources per minute on a normal mode. So that's going to be a significant step up for sure. And then we can overclock those at that too. So particle enrichment. So this is where we get into more advanced nuclear technologies, being able to make encased plutonium cells and plutonium pellets and all this really cool advanced technology stuff along the way. So that's Tier 7 and Tier 8. That's what we get to look forward to. But for now, I'd say we've done a pretty good job in getting our manufacturing up and running to be able to get our space elevator done, and then ramping up our refinement process out at our new refinery plant with the oil and plastic and rubber productions, and then our fuel generators that's got us almost at 5 gigawatts now of power is what we're doing. We're at 4.978 gigawatts of power is what we're generating now. So we're creeping up there for sure. So with that said, guys, reach down, hit that like button on the video, subscribe if you're new to the channel, ring that notification bell so you can be notified when we go live. Also, check out my social medias at TerrasDWDC on Twitter and Instagram. With that said, guys, you have yourself a good one, and we will catch you on the next one.